What's up? What's up? This is WTBS college football program. And you know what? It's still week one. We did get to see Notre Dame compete. And you know what? I was somewhat impressed, Ben. I think they are a fringe playoff team with the addition at quarterback, getting rid of Tommy Reese and getting Matt Hartman in there. What do you think, Ben? Would you
Yeah, for
impressed
sure.
by
I mean, that was
Notre Dame?
that was a very game where Navy was very outnumbered. What trips me out is Navy finally gets rid of their Hawaiian head coach. They bring in a whole new regimen and they keep running the triple option. I was talking to a friend of the podcast, Joby, and he's like, "Why do you think that they do that?" And I said, "I mean, it's a service academy, right? They're not getting the most talented, most skilled athletes. So it's like those boxers that, when they're not that skilled, they got to make it a brawl. And I think
Yeah.
running that triple option scheme makes it the football game essentially a brawl. So I think that that's why they do it. But to go to the Notre Dame side, Hartman looked really good, man.
Yeah.
When he drops back, he throws the ball so freely, so carefree. You gotta love it. And then the running back as well. I mean, I know that it was a Navy defense, and they'll see better defenses, but
Mhm.
he did a hell of a job running.
That's how you beat a team like that. You cover the spread, and that shows that you are good. And I do agree, it is a brawl. What they're trying to do is, kill the clock out and keep the game low scoring as much as possible so they can be in these games. Unfortunately, when you got a team that's built the way Notre Dame is, that's actually good, you get those kind of results. So I'm going to go over the top 10. Again, no change. Absolutely no change. We're still in week one. So no movement until I see the rest of this. But I just want to give you 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops, Ben. And I want to go over some of these storylines that are going to be coming up. Look at the slate we have. I mean, beautiful slate. And we're going to start with tonight. We got Florida and we got Utah. Utah is getting the home game this year. We saw Florida upset them last year in the swamp. But here's the kicker, Ben. Cam Rising, the quarterback for Utah, will likely be out of this game. What does that do for you? Does that make it change? Because Utah is favored 4 points. Does
Yeah.
that flip it for you?
I mean, and in talking to Roland, he's been really zoned in on this game. He can't be with us because he's at work right now. But I know he told me he was going to be on Utah with Cam Rising or without Cam Rising. He thinks that they get it done. I mean, Cam Rising was out at the end of last year, if I'm not mistaken, where he did
Yes.
miss some time, and the backup quarterback went in there and played well. So, with Florida losing Anthony Richardson, who amounted to just about all of their offense
And now
last
they got
season.
Graham Mertz, the Wisconsin transfer.
Yeah, and I mean a Wisconsin quarterback. Come on, bro. Like that's
Not bad, but he's not going to get that
no, he's
movement
bad.
for
He's bad.
Florida.
Though I'm going with Roland. Give me Utah by at least 8 tonight.
All right, I'm taking Utah too. I think they got to get the revenge here. They still got a hell of a running back game, and they got receivers. Cam likely does get that offense moving, but I think it's still enough to cover that spread at least.
They do lose Dalton Kincaid to the NFL, obviously drafted by the Bills, and no Cam Rising. But like I said, Cam Rising didn't end the season last year. So this is a Utah team. They're really well coached. This is a big opportunity for them, obviously, against the Gators, an SEC opponent, and then at home on a Thursday night prime time. Essentially, a lot of people are calling it the first official day of college football.
Yeah.
This is a big spot for Utah. It's hard to see them fumble this one.
All right, I want to move over to Sunday's matchup, which is going to be a rematch again. We're talking rematches here. LSU versus Florida State. And here's the kicker for this game. John Emery, LSU star running back, out of the game. Ben, what do you see between the Florida State? This was a game that went down to 1 point last year. 24-23, missed extra point or something like that to get it done.
This was a great, pretty high-scoring game last year as well. I mean, Florida State at home, I believe it is a true home game for them here. LSU still favored -2.5. I know that you have them, that you have them rated higher than Florida in your top 10. So, maybe rightfully so, they are favored, but I'm just going to stay away. I'm going to watch that one. I don't know much, to be honest. And
as close as you can get,
the
2 point line
favored, in a big spot on a Sunday where usually they don't play college football. This is Sunday at 5:30 for us on ABC. Probably a shootout. Give me the overs.
Yeah. That's a good bet. It's so close to call. I think it comes down to quarterback play. Jaden Daniels versus Jordan Travis. Give me Jordan Travis from Florida State to win this game. All right. Moving on to A fun one here. TCU. They were the national championship runner-up, and they'll be taking on Colorado Buffaloes. Coach Prime. Coach Prime's first appearance in Division One as a coach. 20-point dogs. Is this too big of a spread considering what TCU lost? They lost Max Duggan. They lost the big receivers. They've lost the running back. 20-point favorites. Are you serious? Do you think that's too much?
I mean, this is a Colorado team that has an over-under of, I believe, 1.5 or 2.5 for the season. So I don't want to say that it's too much. Yes, they lost Duggan. They lost Johnson, their wide receiver. They lost a lot. But this is also a Colorado team that we're going to have to, if they do exceed expectations, and it might not be too hard for them to exceed expectations because they would just need 3 or 4 wins. But it's going to come down to Deion's son, Shedeur Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know people were betting him to win the Heisman when he first got to Colorado, and that's kind of that hype train bet or whatever. But if they're going to exceed expectations, it's because he's the real deal.
Yeah. What's up, Mark? I actually like Colorado to cover 20.5. I think it's like an 18-point game, a 17-point game that they lose by. 20 points is a lot of spread when you give up that much. So give me Colorado to cover that spread here. All right. Penn State and West Virginia. West Virginia's coach on the hot seat. Penn State, a lot of additional talent added. They finished the season pretty hot last year. Is this the year they make a college football playoff berth, or is this still a dud Penn State team?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to go on the record, predicting whether they make the playoff or not because I'm just not too educated on them. Mm-hmm. But they do have the primetime Saturday night slot here at home. I don't know if they're going to do the whiteout this early in the season, especially because it's not in conference. But, I mean, that's a pretty hostile place to play, right? Yeah. And as far as West Virginia, we know them to usually have some offense, not much defense. So I think Penn State's going to run it up this game. I have them in the mid-30s, low 40s.
Enough to cover the 20.5? Big spreads this weekend.
Yeah, they're pretty big spreads, but give me like a 40 to 13 final.
All right. I think that's fair. Tonight, another game, Nebraska versus Minnesota. Matt Rule, the ex-Baylor coach, he's back. He's off of Fox, and he's back to coaching. This week, he had some distractions on the outside. Eric Gilbert, the tight end for Nebraska. We all saw the video of him stealing vapes from the vape store. He's off the team.
Oh, wow.
You think that's a bad start for the Rules dynasty? Do you think Minnesota's wins? They're 7-point favorites right now over a Matt Rule Nebraska team. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this is definitely Matt Rule is a very good coach. Maybe not a good NFL coach, and just Carolina wasn't that good of a scenario, but we've seen what he did, at Temple, where he really got his name. I have Nebraska catching a touchdown here. I mean, call me crazy, under who was the coach for them last year?
The ball dude, the one that just got fired. Oh my God, I can't think.
He came from a smaller school as well. I don't know if it was Hugh Freeze.
No, not Hugh Freeze. If I Google it, I'll pick it up.
Yeah, but I mean, they're under a new resume here, and Matt Rule is a good coach. He runs a good scheme. I just think they're going to be really well coached. Frost, there you go. And he was doing some wild stuff over there in Nebraska.
He was with UCF, I believe, before.
Yes, he came from UCF. So give me Nebraska here, catching the touchdown, bro.
So here's the thing, Ben. I don't think Matt Rule's a good coach. He inherited a very good program at Temple, and then he inherited a good Baylor program. So I don't think he's the guy. I think Minnesota's going to run here. I think Minnesota wins. Maybe doesn't cover the spread, but give me Minnesota. I think Matt Rule gets exposed a little more this upcoming years because of this.
It's going to be hard to get exposed in the Big Ten. I mean, Nebraska's already looked at as a joke.
How they fallen because they once weren't that joke. They were a power program.
True.
The other one I want to talk about, South Carolina versus UNC. South Carolina got hot towards the end of last season. We saw what they did to Tennessee. We got Spencer Rattler versus Drake May, Heisman hopeful. And it's only a 2-point favorite at South Carolina for North Carolina. Do you see the defense that North Carolina doesn't really have being a problem for a guy like South Carolina and Spencer Rattler? Do you see South Carolina with the upset here?
I'm not the biggest Spencer Rattler fan, to be honest with you. especially because he was at Oklahoma to start his career. It seems
Facts.
like he's kind of found his way over there at South Carolina. Man, you know, I understand the spread being so low because of the rivalry and how hostile it's going to be in South Carolina. This is a very, very personable game. Obviously, I mean, I don't think that one road separates it like Duke and North Carolina, but this is a heated rivalry in the Carolinas. I think Drake May. It's just going to be last team to have the ball wins, and I think that Drake May is going to get it done. So give me North Carolina. I This is one also I probably just want to watch, and probably an overs game. With both of those quarterbacks, especially with North Carolina's really no show defense. They're a pretty one man show on because of the quarterback offensively.
Yeah. Man, there's some good games this weekend. Even tonight, Florida Utah is going to be fun. Ben, any other game you want to talk about? I know Texas has Rice. We should cook that. That shouldn't be a problem. Anything you want to bring up for college football before we end this one?
No, I mean, Texas plays Rice. I hope that they do what they're supposed to do and blow them out to where we get the backup some playing time, right? Because we don't just want him sitting on the sideline the whole time and possibly, leaving mid-season or whatever. So these early games that Texas is going to be highly favored in, aside from that Alabama one, I expect them to beat up on these teams, bro. Get the backups in there, let everybody get their reps, do what a powerhouse is supposed to do.
All right. Alan says Spencer Rattler had such a roller coaster collegiate career, man. Yeah, he's seen some lows and he's seen a little bit of highs last season.
I think that honestly at Oklahoma, the way he was just being gifted stuff, he was trying to be a little bit of Johnny Manziel. Those were the vibes I was getting from him. And luckily for him, he got a second chance at South Carolina, who really needed a quarterback because Spencer Rattler looked bad for a while at Oklahoma.
West Virginia hasn't been relevant since Tavon Austin, at least that I remember.
Kenny
They haven't
Pickett was
been
a
relevant in the
real
playoffs
good.
scene, but they're sneaky and they've beaten some top teams. Texas a few times, unfortunately.
They've had some good QBs that, either transferred there or transferred from there to bigger schools. But yeah, I'm with you, Alan. I mean, they used to be really good with Tavon Austin for sure.
Well, Ben, I think that's it for us. It was a short show. We're just excited to get this out for this weekend. We got top 25 matchups coming up next week. And again, we'll be back with the college football program again. Anything you want to leave us with before we sign out here?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to come back and talk about an upset, I think. But, realistically, the South Carolina against North Carolina would probably be the closest upset because we wouldn't call an LSU or Florida State win an upset. And, teams like Penn State, Clemson, and Tennessee are high favored teams.
Clemson
Maybe
with
a
the new
Florida
coach,
win or a South Carolina win. But I want to come back and talk about an upset next week.
Yeah, hopefully, it might be Duke and Clemson. Clemson is coming in with the new quarterback. Let's see what happens with that. Let's see if it's shaky starts. We'll see.
All right, brother.
Peace.